seen it in my office throughout the years, how a parent could miss seeing that their son or daughter was stressed or anxious. Kids who feel stressed out might not know how to say it, so instead, they might complain of headaches, stomach aches, they might seem irritable, or make general comments about not feeling well. Sometimes the things that our kids may feel stressed out about will stand out even more when they start attending school. Hello and welcome to Mom's Way to Wellness. If you are a mom who feels lonely, unseen, and overwhelmed with the demands of motherhood, you are in the right place. I am your host, Ida Maravillas. I help overwhelmed moms transform their challenges into mental health and generational well-being as we talk about the struggles of motherhood, parenting, and mental health through a lens of faith. I offer resources and guidance to help you work through the challenges that are impacting your relationship with yourself and with others. Let's get into today's episode. Today we're going to talk about how stress and anxiety can look in our kids. In episode 6, we talked about some of the differences between stress and anxiety and what each can look like in our roles as moms. But sometimes we can overlook how our kids are vulnerable to experiencing stress and anxiety too. I remember seeing it in my office throughout the years, how a parent could miss seeing that their son or daughter was stressed or anxious. Sometimes they ended up in my office after a lot of visits to the doctor, and sometimes to the emergency room because the symptoms were so significant. And even after any underlying medical concerns were ruled out, acknowledging stress or anxiety in the lives of their kids was hard to understand. It didn't mean their parents didn't care. Most of the time it meant that they just didn't recognize the signs. I have to admit that sometimes I miss the signs with my own kids just as much as I miss the signs in myself. Kids who feel stressed out might not know how to say it. So instead, they might complain of headaches, stomach aches, they might seem irritable, or make general comments about not feeling well. In episode 6, I talked about how stress is a short-term response to circumstances in our lives that are challenging, demanding, or overwhelming. It's usually linked to an external event. So for our kids, a stressful situation can be linked to the environments that they're in and the expectations of others as they navigate their place in all of these different situations. Their stressors are going to depend on their age, their grade, their development, whether or not they're meeting all of their milestones, what their strengths are, and any particular challenges that they might have. At home, our kids can feel stressed out about everyone else's mood in the house, about our mood, about conversations that they might overhear about overall stressors in the home. Not knowing how to start a big task or keeping up with an expectation, having to keep up with their chores, or keeping up with after-school activities and home responsibilities. Believe me, we all have to deal with stress, and it doesn't mean that we should take on the responsibilities on behalf of our kids. It does mean that we have to find ways to help our kids learn about managing their feelings and their responsibilities. And that will involve a lot of teaching and a lot of extra time. Sometimes the things that our kids may feel stressed out about will stand out even more when they start attending school. School-related stressors can include whether or not they have friends, being on the receiving end of unwanted attention, feeling embarrassed by a social interaction, or being addressed in an embarrassing way by a teacher. How much work they have to finish during class, how much homework they get assigned, how hard or challenging new material can be to learn, what their grades are, how they're getting along with their classmates, or if they're older, whether or not they know what's trending. If our kids ask to miss school a lot, it's important to tune into how symptoms can be related to something going on at school. Our kids may try to avoid the things that are stressful, and this is the tricky place where stress and anxiety can start to overlap. In episode 6, I talked about how anxiety tends to be rooted in worry and fear. It tends to linger in the absence of whatever it is that we were stressed out about to begin with. And the same thing goes for our kids. So when it comes to our kids and anxiety, we might see emotional or behavioral outbursts because they are so overwhelmed with a lot of feelings that they can't verbally express. So it finds its way out through behavior. Externally, anxiety might look like our kids asking for reassurance that things will be okay. Our kids crying if they have to anticipate going into an uncomfortable situation. Our kids hiding behind a parent or caregiver when there are a lot of people around. Asking to miss school a lot. Feeling nervous when they're far away from the people that they feel safest around. And when they get older, not wanting to order their own food at a restaurant, not wanting to initiate a greeting or a conversation with others in social situations. They might feel afraid to sleep alone, to be scared of the dark and drag out their bedtime routine. They might wake up in the middle of the night and have trouble falling back asleep. Their hands may feel sweaty. They might avoid eye contact when someone speaks to them, and they might speak really low and be hard to hear or understand. Their cheeks may feel flushed. Their cheeks may look flushed, look red, and their heart might feel like it's racing. If our kids seem really tired in the mornings, this is something for us to tune into. Unless we ask the right questions, we might not realize if our kids were awake and had trouble falling back asleep throughout the night, especially if they're overthinking about the things that they're stressed out about. Or we might know that they woke up a lot if they're coming into our bedrooms and asking for a glass of water or saying that they're scared or having trouble falling asleep. Anxiety also may show up in the questions that they're asking us or in questions that they might be asking themselves. Will anyone be my friend? Will someone sit with me on the bus? Is anyone going to sit with me at lunch tomorrow? What if the teacher calls on me and I give the wrong answer? What if I fail my test? Are they mad at me? Is that post about me? Are we even friends anymore? Because anxiety is rooted in worry and fear about the potential things that can happen, it's important for us to remember that our kids might try to cope with these uncomfortable feelings by trying to avoid what's stressful or scary to them. And when we accommodate that avoidance and when we let them skip out on the things that are uncomfortable, the stressor grows. The anxiety gets bigger and it gets harder to face that challenging situation as time goes on. And when these behaviors happen, they can be so hard to manage because as moms, we have to keep things running. We have our own list of things to do. We have to get our kids to school on time. And if we work outside of the house, we have to make it to a job on time. And we have to manage all of our to-do list. But at the same time, we also want our kids to be okay. So it's important for us to consider the perspective of our kids and to avoid using our own experiences as a point of comparison to their experience. Our kids are growing up in a world that's very likely to be different from the world that we grew up in. So how they experience stress and anxiety is relative to how they're experiencing their own lives. I want to offer you 3 takeaways that will help you figure out how stress and anxiety might be impacting your kids. First, especially when you see behaviors, some of the examples that I provided, ask your kids questions about what's going on in their lives and listen to their answers with intention. It's so important to be curious about how our kids are expressing their emotions and ask them questions to try to understand more about what's going on. Our kids are also unique, so some of the examples that I've given may not be the way that your kids are demonstrating how they experience stress or anxiety. So it's so important to know how your child as an individual might be experiencing this. Second, help your kids name what they're feeling and why they're feeling it. Recognizing stress and anxiety, naming it, and finding ways to work through it are so important. Knowing that it's present is the most important first step in figuring out what to do next. This helps with self-awareness and understanding your own needs and how to express those needs. And it's also going to help you understand your kids' needs better. Third, look for ways to problem solve together. Looking for ways to help our kids cope with their feelings by trying some different coping strategies together can be such an important next step. And when the overwhelming moments happen, practice taking a deep breath together to help calm both of your nervous systems. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe and leave a review. This will help others find the show. If you would like to receive additional resources on motherhood and wellness, you can join my community by subscribing to my email list at idamaravillas.com. Remember, wellness is possible one step at a time.